You want to have a breakthrough. You want to know that there's something more than the status quo you're living.
Worry, stress, fear, anxiety, it's your anthem right now. You feel overwhelmed, overtaken by life. It's just too much.
In 2011, my wife had a nervous breakdown caused by severe panic and anxiety. And I didn't understand it, but I do now. Because since then, I too have had my own struggles with anxiety.
My story, it's deep. It took me years to unpack the cause and the cure to be more than a conqueror over anxiety and fear.
There's hope in the dark.
It is possible to have a fearless breakthrough. Father, I know that there are people that have walked in here tonight, and maybe me even praying right now is something they haven't done in a really long time. God, we just invite you here in this place right now, and we ask you to do what only you can do, and that's to break strongholds. That's to open up vulnerability. That's for us to be real and for you to be glorified. God, we give you this night, and we thank you for what you're going to do in this place. In Jesus' name, amen. Whoa. You're kind of messed up.
Yeah, I'm looking at your own board, so...
What's going on over here? Irrelevance, getting old. You're not old. Losing strength. Come on now, like you're gonna have to break this down for us a little bit.
All right, so I know my thought life's been off lately, but I love to play basketball with my kids. We go to the rec center, and usually I've been like a good defender, a quicker guy, but like, I don't know, boss. We went to the rec center the other day, and I was trying to guard this guy, and he was just cooking me. I mean, I think my boys use the term giving me buckets. I mean, I couldn't stop the guy. And speaking of basketball, the storms were coming a few weeks ago, and I tried to move our hoop in the driveway, and all of a sudden it was like, and just nerve pain just radiating through my body for like 3 days. And you might even see me tonight where I'm kind of...
Yeah, you're still stiff.
And losing strength this fall. We've had kind of a busy fall, but had that first October cold front coming through. And if you're a bow hunter, you got to be in the deer stand on that first October cold front. And I get up, I get harnessed in, and, you know, I just kind of go to pull my bow back to practice, and I'm like, and I couldn't pull my bow back, which is pretty embarrassing. And yeah, it's a big one there. I lost my dad 18 months ago to prostate cancer, like aggressive form of prostate cancer. And so that was my dad. I'm a son. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, all right, is it coming for me? So just being honest. But all right, let me step away from my board for a second.
Oh boy, now we got to talk about mine.
Failure. Okay, yeah, failure. Whatever, boss. You know, like motivational speaker, and all put together. All right, I gotta fix that for you. You have great posture, by the way. It's I think you meant imposter, maybe. But I love you. Oops, I don't want to be a judge. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to judge you there.
That's exactly right. So no, this is
I don't
the thing.
belong?
I don't belong. So I write this book, right, guys? I write this book. I put it out into the world. I have terrible grammar, terrible spelling. Clearly, that's exactly it. And like my literary agent, right? She's written like 62 books, and I feel like an imposter. Imposter. So it makes me feel like I don't belong, you know, like I shouldn't be in there, and then that turns into a failure, which turns me into all of these terrible thoughts that I'm thinking, and I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. It's a real thing. I mean, anybody else in here feel like they don't belong in some way, shape, or form, right? So it's a real thing that takes place. But let's get back to yours, mister.
All right.
Let's see what we got going on over here. Little provision, cost of living. Why do you worry about that stuff so much?
I don't know what it is about me. That's always been an area for me. But I mean, can anyone say inflation? $4 a gallon at the gas station.
Oh boy, what?
$15 subs at Penn Station. You got to take out a second mortgage to go on vacation. Cars, trucks, the cost of transportation. We eat a family dinner. We got to cook frozen pizzas, and now we got to ration. Any more Asian words? I can't say. You got to save me up here. I don't know. What's
good.
up with our nation?
Nice rap.
I need salvation. But no, I mean, who, ever since this dumpster fire of a pandemic, hasn't at some point, I think, worried a little bit about money? Do I have enough? Are we going to be okay? But something I really struggled with. Mrs. Perfect. No. What we got here?
Money isn't something I worry about. I mean, I know that plenty of men, because you're providers, I mean, I value the fact that causes you worry and fear and anxiety, but that isn't something. But there are some other things that cause me fear and anxiety.
I judged you on your spelling, I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
I will lose people. I get that. My health. Fear of betrayal. What's up with fear of betrayal?
I feel like vulnerability is a great way to reach people and to help people grow. And I feel like I'm a pretty vulnerable person, and I let people into my struggles. And I just wrote a book where there's 13 chapters where I bare my soul out. And I think that I fear that my vulnerability is going to be used against me. And that in turn will turn into a fear of betrayal. I've had a tremendous amount of wounding in my life from people that I thought would never hurt me. Spiritual giants in my life, friends that I thought would always have my back and that would never hurt me and turn around and stab me in the back. And that is hard. That is a hard thing to walk through. And so the fear of betrayal is real. It's something that I really need to work through and work on.
We're messed up, boss. We're messed up. Everybody is, right? So what's all this mean? The reason I'm up here is, and I'm so appreciative that it's been like 4 years since I've spoke with Christy, but the truth is, lately I've been off. I've been, what that's looked like for me is I've had a lot of self-doubt. I've struggled with making decisions, which has left her in the dark on what I'm going to decide. Symptoms-wise, I've had a little bit of trouble sleeping, chest tightness, especially when I woke up this morning. I realized I was going to be speaking. Sometimes just, I don't know if I'd call that panic attack, but definitely just off, just a little bit of depression. And I'm so glad that Christy encouraged me to get counseling, because I've been doing counseling now, and what I realized was I hadn't faced a lot of the realities of losing my dad, and that I was just looking at life lately a little less fulfilling, a little negatively, just not my 100%, joy Troy. And 5 years ago, I would have been at something like this tonight, at a talk like this, and thought, I'm here for my wife, to try to understand her better. But now with everything that I've walked through, they talk about the messy middle, losing loved ones, financial relationship chaos, those kind of things, and that's real. And I think the old me was like, oh my gosh, hearing me just say that right now, it honestly bothers me, because I feel like I'm being a Debbie Downer, a negative Nancy. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, it's a pretty cute animated movie, and it's about the different human emotions in a little girl's brain in this movie. And there's anger, sadness, But the main character I can relate to is there's this character, she's got blue hair. Maybe I need to dye my hair blue. Her name's Joy. And she's just always like, no, she doesn't want anybody to face any of those other issues, so much so that she's trying to sweep it under the rug. And I think I always wanted to be this 100% Joy, sweep it under the rug. Like, oh, no, don't talk about that. Let's talk about the game last night, or let's talk about smoking meat or whatever. And
it's a real thing. You guys like to talk about smoking meat so much, and I don't get it.
Yeah, it's fun. Smoking meat's great. Hunting, fishing, all those things. But you got to get real sometimes. And you see in that movie that by her trying to not let those other emotions play out, she's actually really messing things up. And because the truth is, in this life, we will have troubles.
And that's not just like a catchy phrase. What's so crazy about that is, in this life, we will have troubles. It comes straight from the Bible. Now listen, Troy and I, our faith has grown tremendously through our struggles with fear and anxiety. I grew up a CEO Christian, which is Christmas, Easter only, and I didn't really find my faith in the Lord until I had the nervous breakdown. But what I want to do is I want to read to you something that I hope that we can kind of zero into a little bit. This comes out of John 16:33. Now, Jesus said this. The greatest human that ever lived said this. So let's pay attention. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. So in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. In me you may have peace. Not in our titles at work, not in our accolades, not in our paycheck, not in our nice fancy cars, not in our comfort, not in any of those things. Only peace in Jesus. Peace is something that's a little bit interesting. And I think the world has it wrong. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read a little excerpt out of this book called Nervous Breakthrough. What is peace? To answer that clearly, I think we must define, or perhaps redefine peace. Is peace a feeling or a state of being? For example, can you feel peace when the circumstances around you are crumbling? Absolutely not, is how I would have answered that question pre-nervous breakdown. I assume the peace is something that you achieve, something that manifests when you follow all the proper steps and manage yourself in a way that's free of disturbance. This world seems to preach that peace is possible when no fear or violence is present. It's funny. There's no shortage of fear and violence among us. The increasing numbers of conflicts and amount of hatred towards one another and rising fear and anxiety disorders don't seem to highlight a peaceful world. This leads me to the question, can peace be achieved by checking all the right boxes and doing the right yoga moves? Or maybe hunting and fishing? Is it possible to enter a state of tranquility or zen managed by you? Do we have the power to cultivate peace within? What if the world has got it wrong and peace is a person? What if the solution to control is surrender, and surrender leads to peace?
Surrender leading to peace. How does that work? A few years ago, when my dad was in the middle of his cancer journey, he was just getting bad report after bad report from the doctor, and he continued to have so much peace. And Christy actually had him come and speak at a Fearless event, and he gave this illustration. He said, people want to say that you go through life like the stock market. He said, you got your highs and your lows. You ace a test, and then you fail the pop quiz, and you get a new girlfriend, and then you break up. And he just said, you know, people think it's that. He said, you do have those moments. But he said, I believe it's like a starfish. He said, you do have your highs and you do have your lows. But when you're in your lows, he said, that's when you're closest to Jesus. Very good. Lately for me, my counselors challenged me with some things to get better. Something that I really enjoy is journaling. So I make time almost every morning. I like to say I do it every morning, but not every morning. I write down, you know, of course, what transpired the day before, but I write down some different thoughts, negative thoughts, and then practically I just try to have a positive mindset to it. Yeah, that guy was cooking me in the basketball court, but hey, I was playing with my boys. Like, how great is that at this age to still be playing? I couldn't pull my bow back maybe that evening, but how beautiful was it just to be out in God's creation and taking a sunset? I can always dial down the strength of my bow another time. But, how much did it suck losing my dad? But how great were the years that I did have with him. To have a father that's that hard to lose. I remember like 3 weeks after I lost him, there was actually a fearless event. I think it was here, and I couldn't walk into a church yet. I just couldn't. And I was sitting out in the lobby, and somebody from the band, he came out, during the break, and he saw me. I said, I can't go in there yet, And he said, Troy, sounds like your dad was a great man. He said, I knew my dad 1 week. When I was 10 years old, he came back for about a week. And that's all I ever knew him. And I thought, wow, I needed that perspective. Spiritually, it's just, it's applying God's truths to those things.
Journaling has been something that I've watched you do and see tremendous growth, but also peace. Friends, I don't think we realize the crap that we have up in our heads and how powerful it is to get it out into the light. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. We all have negative thoughts. And we don't realize how bad these negative thoughts impact our health and body. It matters. It matters. So watching my hunky, strong, wonderful husband decide to get his negative thoughts out on paper and get them out and speak them out loud was a good move. And that has made you healthier and stronger and closer to God because of it. And I'm so proud of you for that. And I pray that the vulnerability that this man has just shown will encourage other men to do the same thing. Because it matters. Our thoughts matter. And the other thing that matters is prayer. I'm going to share an intimate moment with you guys. When I was going through my nervous breakdown, I was having back-to-back panic attacks for 3 weeks. I was hospitalized. And at one point, my son Landon was going to take his first steps. And I was so debilitated with anxiety that I couldn't leave my bedroom to see my son's first steps. That's how bad this anxiety was. In my darkest moments, suicidal thoughts. I didn't think I was going to make it out of that time. In our bedroom, Troy keeps hunting guns. Now, these guns aren't loaded, but when I was having my darkest moments, these thoughts, what if you just use those guns? Your life is so bad right now, it's not going to get better. This is going to be your life forever. Why don't you just end it all? were the thoughts that just kept pounding me. It made me so scared that I had to cover the guns with blankets. Troy comes home from work. He knows I'm having a terrible day. I collapse into his arms. And he says to me, Christy, why are there blankets over my guns? And I looked at him and I said, because I was tempted to use them. Up until this point in our marriage, we had not prayed together, ever. He wanted to fix it. I wanted to fix it. But let's just be honest. We all want to fix things. We want to make them better. But we don't realize the power of prayer. Even if you're not married, if you're single in this place today, the power of prayer with a good friend, with a pastor, with a mentor, with a counselor, it matters. We need to rise up, men and women of God, and be prayer warriors, because prayer will change things. So he prayed over me. He didn't know what he was doing. But we prayed. And you know what? That night was the first night that I slept in 3 weeks. I started to eat again, and hope came back in. Prayer should be our first response, not our last resort. Here's some steps to have a breakthrough. Realize you're not in control. We like to think that we are, but we're not in control. Step 2, surrender to Jesus. I think a lot of times we think surrender is this waving of the white flag. We think this military thought, right? You wave the flag and that means you've lost the battle and it's over. But surrender is a strength. It is not a weakness. We got to prioritize prayer. And lastly, we got to deal with our negative thoughts. So we don't want to leave you here tonight hanging on these negative thoughts. We want to teach you something, and I hope that we've challenged you to go home and take a look at your own thoughts. Speak them out loud to a friend or to a spouse, to a counselor, to a pastor. What we're about ready to teach you and show you, it's not psychobabble. It's where truth and science collide. The truth of Jesus and science collide. It's called the power of renewing your mind. And I've picked a few of Troy's negative thoughts here. And I want to speak right to them right now. This whole irrelevance stuff, this getting old, losing strength, prostate cancer. Troy, this is what I want to tell you. You are handsome. You're buff. And you are fast, even for a 40-year-old. And you're strong. But even as you age, the Lord will be your help and your strength. You can find that in Psalm 28, 7 through 8, and Isaiah 41:10. And this money business, your cute little rap about all the problems in our nation, Troy, you do a wonderful job providing for our family. You're a hard worker. You're not irrelevant. And God sees you. He sees your hard work. But please remember, God will provide for our family, for our children, for you, according to His riches and glory. It may not always be what we want, but he'll give us everything we need. And then the lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek in the Lord will lack no good thing. Philippians 4:19, Psalm 34:10.
Thank you, boss.
You're welcome.
I received that. Boss, you belong. You belong to God. 1 John 4:4 says, "But you belong to God, my dear children. You have already won a victory over those people, because the Spirit who lives in you is greater than the spirit who lives in this world." Fear of betrayal, I hear you, I get it. Even Jesus was betrayed. But I would challenge you to use any type of betrayal as an opportunity to grow in your Christian walk. There's a blessing in every trial. Matthew 5:10 says, "How blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, because the kingdom of heaven belongs to them." How blessed are you whenever people insult you, persecute you, and say all sorts of evil things against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be extremely glad, because your reward in heaven is great.
That's right.
She's probably going to have a house next to Tim Tebow or something.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Hopefully me too, right? I didn't think about that.
I'll let you come too. How do we do this, friends? How do we speak God's truth over our life every single day? It starts with deep roots. Let me read something over you. "But blessed are those who trust in the Lord." Not yourself, not anything else you have going on in life. Blessed are those who trust in the Lord and made the Lord their hope and confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank with roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green, and they never stop producing fruit. You're gonna be okay, friends. You're gonna be okay. But let me remind you once again of Jesus' words. "I have told you these things so that in me, so that in Jesus, you may have peace. Now in this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. Have courage, be of good cheer, because he has overcome the world." Now, this peace is possible, but it does take some partnership from you. We've got to work on this. This isn't something that you just wake up every single day and say, "I have deep roots today." It takes work. So, friends, when your mind is raging, when the negative thoughts are all you hear, when it's assailing you, when you feel the stress, when you feel the relationship chaos, when you feel the money just not coming in, when you don't know where your next paycheck is gonna come from, when you feel like somebody else is gonna get your job, when you can't stand your boss, the peace you need is in a person, and his name is Jesus.